Kelly Ron Smith, Kramer Avenue, Rotterdam. On 131.11, the bid for the basic life support services. This, I assume, is the EMS contract that we've been talking about for quite some time now, that should have been taken care of quite, a while ago. There was a motion or a resolution on the agenda last time we met to authorize the supervisor to negotiate that contract, since I think it's pretty clear at this point that the only bids that are going to come in will be from companies that can do it at no cost to the town. And any others who can't, as long as they exist, I would say would be rejected. But on that note, for some reason, Mr. Calder made a motion to table that resolution, which is a mystery to me, because in the agenda discussion 2 days earlier, there was nothing mentioned about it. We had no reason to believe that it wasn't going to pass. So now it's going out to bids on a service that's not supposed to cost the town anything, which last I knew wouldn't require a bid. So I would ask, why are we doing that? We know that REMS is going to be one of those organizations that will attempt to bid on that contract, but all along the way, we've had at least 3 or 4 proposals that I'm aware of from the supervisor to audit REMS over the ALS money that has been missing from the town coffers over the last 4 or 5 years. And I know that at this time that I'm aware of, there are no less than 9 complaints filed with the Attorney General over this issue. We still haven't had the audit. We expect that REMS will be one of the bidders on this. And what's key, and I think what a lot of people don't understand, that is in the general public, about this contract, is that that contract would designate the EMS provider, the ambulance service, for the town, and that service would always be the first dispatch to all emergencies. So what that would mean is that whoever that provider is going to be the provider that in all likelihood will handle all of the billing and collection for ALS services that are administered by our paramedics when they're employed in these emergencies. So that would mean that we could be risking a company that we now know has gone through untold amounts of money. And we're not just talking about small change, we're talking about what is potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so, in my opinion, I think it would be irresponsible to at least until we can at least determine what happened to this money. Who is responsible? We only know so far from REM's attorney in a discussion with the board in an agenda meeting where I was present, and I distinctly remember a discussion about the former supervisor basically telling them to go ahead and bill for this money and just keep the money. Which was, he had no authority to do so, which was also determined by the town attorneys at the time. So I would ask, is there any chance, there should be no chance at all, that we would be considering, at least not at this time, until all of these questions can be answered, that we should be, even considering a contract with a company that should be under audit at this point. So my question is, where's the audit, and are we even going to consider that, unless and until these questions can be answered and any other related determinations can be made. And on a side note on that, on the medical board that was supposed to be discussed the other day, I would also suggest, not that my opinion is going to matter, but I would suggest that the resolution that was recently passed to reconfigure that medical board to meet the current circumstances now. The composition of the board includes people like REMS, firefighters. These, in my opinion, are interested parties that would have some connection or interest with the potential bidder in REMS. And I think that this is a board that should really be made up of citizens who don't have some connection to anyone who might have some special interest in that regard. So I would say it should be amended to not include them, but rather render them ineligible, if anything, to serve on that board.
Thank you, Kelly. The answer to the first one, REMS has been doing the job for several years. And as far as putting a bid out, it doesn't mean that REMS or whoever will get the job. They put the bid out, the best bidder gets the job. As far as the money in the audit, once that's done, you just don't push the state into doing something. They do it when they get to it. And then, excuse me, we'll take, you had your turn, let me give me a chance at it. Then, once the audit's done, and if we find that there's some money missing or not put where it was supposed to be put, at least we'll have a chance to get that money. Hopefully. But that's what you do. But I mean, this is what's been happening. Nothing changed. People are getting picked up. You call an ambulance, they come and get you. Whether it's REMS, Mohawk, or the Man in the Moon, we don't care. But it still has to go out for bid because of the cost. And that.
I'm not disputing that. What
You're
I'm
not
saying is
disputing.
whoever that.
I can't hear you, Kelly. You gotta come closer.
I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is that whoever that provider is, when that contract is completed, they are going to be probably the sole biller and collector of funds that we now know have been mishandled and, obviously pilfered by one of the companies who will probably be putting in one of these bids. And frankly, I'm surprised that this, there was no discussion about this the other day, or about this medical board that will now have, certain responsibilities, and I would imagine some authority and oversight, over this service. But as I said, what I'm saying is I think that any consideration for a contract by them, at least for the time being, should be suspended until we can make those determinations. I didn't suggest that the Attorney General is doing an audit. What I said was that you had on many occasions proposed an audit on your own, that the town should audit. I don't think you're ever going to recover money. We know that record keeping was, horrendous at best, so it's going to be difficult to trace any of it, which in my opinion makes it all the more urgent to consider that when you consider that if they were to be the EMS provider by contract, the town provider, they are the ones who would be billing and collecting for money that we know that they've mishandled for at least the last 4 or 5 years. We don't know how much, we can only estimate that, but we know that it's probably in the area of somewhat, if it's been over the last 4 or 5 years, you're probably talking about, somewhere around $500,000. And all the time that we should have been talking about this, the subject just never seemed to come up, or was held up. The whole board was held up, because they had to wait for Mr. Calder to finish his photo op with his party out here the other day. And I would ask that,
No personal attacks, we're here to talk
it's not a personal attack.
issue. Are you attacking
He should
a
have
board
been
member?
here at his board
I
meeting
don't
on
care what
time that
happened the
was
other day.
scheduled before he did that.
Let it go.
But under the circumstances, as far as this ALS issue is concerned, until it can be resolved, I don't see how anyone could possibly consider a contract with this company until we know what happened.
I thought you were innocent until proven guilty.
I'm not suggesting innocent. What I'm saying is that we do know that they've collected this money. We do know that they have, in fact, retained it. And we know this from their own attorney who told us. He could only tell us that the money was spent on operations, which is a little vague, but we do know that they collected all this money. So I think, we need to find out who...
We assume that they did that. We have no proof whatsoever.
Well, their
There's no
attorney
audit.
told
There's
us.
I'm sorry?
Their attorney told us, I was there, that this money was spent on operations. That was the only explanation he did, and that affirms, I think, they're retaining the money. And you'll remember that he argued about billing and billing and billing, but it was retaining that we were concerned about at the time.
Right, well, right now, we're trying to get a bid on it, trying to get that ALS money, and then whatever the results are later, we'll find out.
Well,
Nothing's gonna be hidden, we're not hiding anything.
I'm not
They're not
suggesting
hiding
that anything
anything.
should be hidden, and especially not, something like this. All I'm saying is that this is certainly, I think, something that should be taken under consideration, serious consideration, in negotiating that contract. Because I think we can assume that both, Rams and Mohawk and any other service who can come in and bid on that service for, no cost to the town, which, again, last I knew, doesn't even require a pay. But if we're gonna bid on it, and if one of those bidders is gonna be someone, who right now, is questionable because of these circumstances, I think that it's something, that should be seriously considered, when, it's time to award that contract. Because again, that whoever is awarded the contract is gonna be the provider who's gonna, be billing and collecting all that money.
Okay, thank you.
Ron Severson, 3411 Gilgillen Avenue. While I'm concerned about the ALS, or the monies that were billed and retained, I think we should avoid using words like pilfered or mismanaged or whatever until the actual investigation and audit is done. Because REMS has done a lot of good work in this town, so to start using words that suggest guilt before anything has been proven, I think is inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak on it, or any of the items?
Cheryl Nelson, 237 Mercer Avenue. This is regards to agenda item 137. I'm the property owner that borders that easement on one side, and I have been the property owner for over 20 years. I'm asking that the board consider voting negatively against this easement. We are a quiet, well-established, peaceful neighborhood. We're mostly houses from the 1960s. And in addition to significantly impacting my property, I feel it will also impact the integrity of our neighborhood. Thank you.